praying. He's got more than just mad skill. He got a beaver tail and a bill. And where is my channel? Um, I'm so dumb. Like I'm looking at it and I'm just not clicking it. Live. How are we looking? There we go. That's how we're looking. Hold on, hold on. Hello? Why can I not hear anything? Why can I not hear anything? Why can I not? Why can I not? Oh, there we go. Okay, okay, okay. We're in busyness. Copy. Copy over. Okay, okay, okay. We're in busyness. Copy. Copy over. All right. Good evening. Greet. What is that from? Is it Adam Family? Good evening. No, I don't know where it's from. Anyway, good evening. This is the first time I'm recording in the evening for a while, actually. This is also the first time I'm recording for like probably 5 years downstairs. You may be able to tell which side is it this side. You can see part of I don't know what it is exactly. You can see like a crack in the green screen. I think it's the kitchen. I think it's the fridge you can see. My brother is using my studio currently, so I am downstairs and I thought why not record while I'm here. So I bit my tongue. So welcome to the Project Podcast, the podcast without an introduction. I'm your host, Project R. And today I want to talk to you guys about a conversation I had a few weeks ago with my friends. It's a recurring conversation that I've had with my partner as well, in that should our children pay rent? And I don't mean children as in people under the age of 18. I mean, should people born of parents pay rent to those parents when they become of age to start working? And I was like, hell no, my children are not paying rent if they live in my household. I am under the sorry, it's very cramped. You can't actually tell because the green screen magic is magic, right? Um, but it is very cramped where I'm sitting. I've got like a Harry Potter situation going on here. I'm literally underneath the stairs, but we're gonna make it work. Yeah, I was like to my friends, yeah, absolutely not. My children not paying rent. I brought them into this world without their consent, and it seems unfair for me to forcefully put them in a place and then tell them, hey, you've got to pay rent because they didn't want to be here. They might be grateful for the life that they now have to live, but they didn't have a choice in the matter. That's number one. Number two, and this is a point that my boys agreed with me, is that I want to give my child a better life than I have. And that means giving them more opportunities than I had. One of the opportunities that I don't have is to be able to save as aggressively as I would like to because I have to pay rent in the place that I live in. right? And the reason that I have to pay this rent is because if I don't, my mom will be struggling. And I love my mom. I don't want her to be struggling. I also don't want to pay rent, but I'd like to be able to save enough to move out and live independently. It's difficult for me to do that on the wage that I currently am on because a chunk of what I'm getting paid goes towards the rent rather than going towards my savings, right? I don't want my child to go through that same thing. My friends were like, no, no, no. It teaches them responsibility, teaches them um, financial responsibility, and I was like, you can teach them that without making them pay hundreds of pounds a month, you know. And they're like, no, 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 because it's different. Like £10 a week, and like the, and I said, yeah, but there are certain things in life that you don't need to have the full extent of that thing to understand it fully. And I give you an example. The example that I used with my boys was he has a degree in biomedical science, and he was asking me. Hold on, I'm just gonna switch my screen real quick. He was asking me. Well, I asked him like a medical question, and he was able to give me the answer. I said that's interesting because you're not a doctor, you don't have a PhD, and yet you were able to give reasoning and logic based on the knowledge that you have. And he was like, yeah. So I said, why can't you apply the same logic to money? If you're giving your child responsibilities around the house, and if they complete certain tasks, they will get a certain number, they will get a certain amount of pocket money. That teaches them that if you work hard, you get this much, right? I don't need to throw them in the deep end and say, hey, you're 18 now, you've got a job that's making you minimum wage, give me half of it. Because at that point, you are giving up half of your wage if you're on minimum wage to rent to a house that you have no choice but to be in because you physically cannot afford to live on your own on minimum wage. And that is a really big point of contention. If I pause this, would I be able to see my chat? I don't know. I might have to let this play. Sorry. And mute. Perfect. And that is a big point of contention. It's very unlikely that your child will be earning enough money to comfortably pay rent in your house and save up so they can live independently. If they're planning to stay at home for life, different argument, right? I'm not saying that every single child has to move out of their parents' house. They probably should. I definitely want to. Like, you probably should. But if you're in a community where everyone stays in the same house, you get those family households where it's a really big house. You have like 18 people living there, but there's like 20 rooms or whatever. Fine, whatever. That is of its own accord, right? But if you're in like a usual household, 4 or 5 of you, you're gonna want to move out. You're gonna want your own space. It's very unlikely that you're living in a 4 or 5 people populated a household populated by 4 or 5 people, and there's a massive number of rooms. Growing up, it was me, my older brother, my older sister, my younger brother, my mum in a 2-bedroom household. I wanted my own space, and I'm sure a lot of people would want their own space living in that sort of situation. Even if you had your own space, a lot of people's rooms maybe too small, a lot of people's rooms they had to share. Like, there's just so many different factors that make you say, actually, you know what? I just want and need my own space. It's going to be difficult for me to get that space if I'm paying rent to my parents. That is just a fact. And I have some statistics here to show you guys. Oh, you know what? I came prepared and forgot about my preparation. So this is the this is the screenshot from my podcast folders on my phone that I wanted to talk about a year ago. It says, asking your parents for money at 25 years old is crazy. And the response is somebody saying, it is poor and middle class people that try to shame their own children into independence. Truly wealthy people finance their kids across all ages and engage proper estate planning services to make sure their kids, grandkids, etc. are taken care of. No one dares say a thing. We're going to let that sit for a little bit. Because what that tweet is saying what that tweet is saying is essentially, when you're rich enough, you don't have the expectation of your child paying rent. It's only a poor and middle class mindset that says, as soon as my child is ready, they're gonna help me out with these bills. Why does your child have to? Why can you not afford? I'm getting triggered a little bit. Why can you not afford your own bills? Because if I do move out, what are you gonna do? This idea that you're gonna be paying rent and saving up enough money to move out, very flawed. It almost traps you into this, what's the word, purgatory of, I want to move out, but I'm paying rent so that I can save up a little bit, but then I'm paying rent. So then, you're almost stuck. You're almost forced to stay at home. And nobody wants to be the evil, son, daughter, child that says, actually, I'm not paying rent. I'm looking out for myself. You sort yourself out. Because that seems cruel, right? It seems very harsh to turn around to your parent and say, hey, look, I'm not paying rent anymore because I'm looking out for myself. That seems very selfish, doesn't it? That seems like you're not grateful for the sacrifice that your parent has had to take care of you. But this is what I mentioned earlier. I didn't ask you to make no sacrifice. I didn't even ask to be born. And this isn't me complaining that I was born. That's for another day. This is just me acknowledging that I didn't ask to be here. Therefore, you can't use that as in your argument. You can't say, well, I gave you life. Cool. I didn't give you permission to give me life. Therefore, you can't force me to live it in a certain way, right? I didn't choose to live in this house. I'm in this house because if I wasn't, I'd be homeless. Those are my only two options. And so I'm forced to pay rent to avoid homelessness. Like everybody else paying rent, right? But how do I get out of that cycle? Well, you just say, earn more money, right? And this is where my statistics come in. So I have 6 pictures to share with you guys. And for audio, I'm talking about these audio only listeners. I haven't uploaded an audio podcast for a long time. They'll come back. They'll come back. However, for you audio only listeners, I will read out these statistics. So we have the first picture. That's not the first picture. The first picture is of rent in 2005. It says in 2005, this is the UK, by the way. All the statistics, if I forget to mention it, are from the UK. In 2005, local authority average weekly rents in the UK were around £55.55, which times it by 4, £222.20. You can see it jumped up a little bit in 2015 to about, in the UK in total, the UK average was around £751 a month. And then rent 2025, the year we're currently in the UK, £1,348 per month. So we've gone from £272 to £1,348. Now, so obviously, as we said, just earn more money. Work hard. You know what they say: get your degree, your master's, your PhD, guaranteed to make more money, right? Yeah, sure. Why not? So salary in the UK in 2005, on average, £22,901 per year. For 2005, that was the average salary. 2015, 10 years later, £27,600. The average salary today in the UK is 3,000 would be crazy. £37,800. And so, rent going up, just earn more money, right? I actually have done some calculations for you guys. Here, look. I can show you. I have done some mathematics. I have done mathematics for you guys. So, the increase in rent, hold on. I'm going to have to drop this. Whoops. Not yet, hold on, sorry. The increase in rent from 2005 to 2025, from £22,000 a year to £37,000 a year, approximately, There's approximately a 68% increase, which is, some might say, respectable. 68% in 20 years, maybe it could be higher, but it's an increase. Certain countries probably have decreases in wages in the last 20 years. 68%. The increase in rent, I'm going to take my glass off this one. The increase in rent from 2005 to 2025, £222.20 to £1,348. 520%. 520% increase. Just earn more money. Just earn more money. I'm supposed to just earn. What's the difference between that? That's what? 400. I'm supposed to earn 452% more. Because that's the difference between the rent and the salary. Which would entail, hold on, that's what I didn't calculate. Let's calculate that now. Calculator. Let's see if the rent scaled, so if salary scaled as much as the rent did. We go from 22,000 times, not 100%, so not times by 520%. For salary to have scaled the same as rent, people will need to be earning £114,400 per year. So, on average, in 2005, when we grew up, the amount of money that our parents were paying for rent was 520% less than what we would currently have to pay for rent. Our increase in wages is only 68%. How are we supposed to save up enough for our own households when we've only got 68% more money than our parents did, but 520% more to spend than what our parents had to spend? How can I expect my child, because that's only going to go up. I don't know if you know anything about the UK government or governments in general. in this day and age, not great. Not great. This is only going to go up. It's going to get worse before it gets better. I saw recently, like this year, we're like officially. I mean, we were always heading in this direction, but we're officially in a recession. So that number's only going to get worse over the next 5, probably 10 years. How long is Let's do some mathematics. Uh, long do recessions? I have a headache. Uh, the answer is we don't know. A bit ASMR. I was actually thinking of big fish today. Hold on, sorry. So sorry. Where I'm currently sitting. Let me get rid of this. Where I'm currently sitting is under the stairs. As I said, all our DVDs are here. I was thinking about the movie Big Fish. Well, because I've been thinking about the movie Help I'm a Fish, and as a child, Help I'm a Fish, Big Fish, I thought they would just be similar movies. Big Fish, I actually don't remember. I'm gonna read it for you guys now. Hold on 1 second. I know this has nothing to do with anything that I was talking about, but when I get distracted, I have to see it through. So, Big Fish, an adventure as big as life itself, with Ewan McGregor, Albert Finney, Billy Crudup. Hey, that's a bad man name. His name is Crudup. Get your Crudup, my boy. And Jessica Lange. Ewan McGregor Star Wars. Throughout his life, Edward Bloom has always been a man of big appetites, enormous passions, and tall tales. List of three. It's a English device, English literature device for you guys. English language device? English language device. In his later years, he remains a huge mystery to his son William. Now, to get to know the real man, Will begins piecing together a true picture of his father from flashbacks of his amazing adventures in this marvel of a movie. And there's a really big fish on the back. Yeah, like it's a family, history kind of movie. Help I'm a Fish is a movie. It's an animated movie of these children who their dad is like a scientist. He makes this potion to turn humans into fish, but if a fish drinks it, they'll turn human. Or there was like a reverse. Uh, anyway, and in the end, one of the antagonists of the film, he's drinking the human potion, um, and one of the main characters who got turned into a fish needs to drink the potion, so he turns back into a human. Because if he doesn't drink it after like I think it's like maybe 24 hours or something, he stays a fish. So he's trying to trick the fish into giving him the potion. So he keeps making him drink and asking him like difficult questions that he can't answer. So he has to drink to get smarter, more human, so he can answer the question. And the last two questions is what happens if a fish drinks too much potion? And he drinks the potion and he goes, it turns human. And then the last question is, and can a human breathe underwater? And he goes, of course not. And then he dies. He just fucking dies. I just realized, wait a minute. Wait a minute. He drowns. He dies. And then the kid drinks the potion. He turns back into a kid. Happy days. But that fucking fish just straight up dies. wait, wait. Hold on. Sorry. Well, I'll get back on topic in a second, guys. Don't worry. Evil fish. It's actually like one of the searches is evil fish dies. Joe dies from suffocation when he drinks the antidote, transforming him into a human who cannot breathe underwater. Spoilers, by the way. Where is Help on the Fish? Because I don't see it here. we got so distracted. I also have Ali G on VHS. Anyway, anyway, and gangsta for life. So my stance is my children. Should I have children? Not paying rent in my household. They will learn financial responsibilities in other ways. I'll give them chores, and chores will be worth a certain amount, and that will teach them that if you work hard, you know, things in life aren't handed to you. That was my friend's argument. They don't want their children to grow up spoiled. They don't want their children growing up thinking that life will be handed to them on a silver platter. I understand that. My child won't be given things on a silver platter, but they will have a better life than I had. And part of that is not paying rent. Sorry, I need this burp. That is actually all. Where am I? My laptop's gonna die anyway. No, go away. Thank you. That's actually all I have to talk about today. Nothing funny, nothing exciting. A pretty short stream, by my standards, anyway. Um, but this is I'm never recording down here again. I can tell you that for free. Where's my water gun? Because I'm sweating. I'm cramped. My back hurts. I said I'm gonna end here, but I'm still very much distracted by all of these films. There's just so many that I've forgotten about. Also, did you wait? We have Ice Age 4. I don't think I've ever seen Ice Age 4. I don't know if we had it on DVD. Which one is Ice Age 4? With a monkey? Yeah, I have never seen this film. This is the best Ice Age yet. Sorry. This is the one where Diego falls in love. I think I've seen like clips on Instagram. How very interesting that I've never seen that film. And Bully, bro, pisses on it. You know what? We need to have a conversation about old school movies. My laptop is most definitely gonna die. Uh, before I get all my thoughts out. So before it does, I will say this has been the Project Podcast, the podcast without an introduction. I've been Project R, and I will see you on the next one. So that is that done, right? Let's get into this conversation about children's movies because, yeah, Ant he straight up just pisses down the flipping anthill. Like, can we talk about it? Can we, like, what's that about? What other movies are crazy? But open season. And so the bear walks into the guy's yard and shits in his, hey, RSPCA, yeah, don't get on to me, but like, in real life, if a bear walks into your yard and shits in your toilet, like, I'm not saying I'd shoot him. I'm gonna ask him a few questions, you know what I mean? I got a couple questions for you, broski. Like, like, you're a bear, bruv. Hold on. Like, what are you doing to my, like, yeah, there's that. Megamind, good film, solid film. What's that? The Wild. I don't remember that. Much Fantastic Four. No, that's the second one. It's Rise of the Silver Surfer, where they did Galactus. Dirty. What is that? There's no way that's. Can I? What? Huh? I have this on DVD. That's insane. I assemble at Facebook and play the game. When did this come out? Why do I have it on DVD? 2012. Like I was looking at it, like I can see the A, but I'm like, surely that doesn't say Avengers Assemble because what? Why do I have this on? And I have Captain America. I think I remember like Iron Man was one of the first ones. I think I remember having Iron Man. I have Hulk and then the Incredible Hulk. Yeah, but I remember watching those. I don't recall ever watching Avengers Assemble on DVD. I don't think. I think these were gifts given to like the house via my younger brother, most likely, because I don't see somebody gifting me Avengers Assemble in 20. How old was I in 2012? 13. I was what? How old am I now? I was 15 in 2012. Is that right? I was 13 years ago. Yeah, it's 15. Would somebody have given me Avengers Assemble for my 15th birthday? No, it's more likely that Marley got it for his 9th birthday than I get it for my 15th. Very interesting. I also see Watchmen up there. I might watch that tonight. This is what I did there. Because I've never seen it. There's a lot of films here that I haven't seen because, I wasn't 18 when DVDs were about. And I wasn't getting caught watching an 18 movie in my youth. I'd have got creamed. Cooked. Batman versus not Batman versus Batman and Robin. I remember I watched that VHS religiously. I definitely skipped the film though, like just to watch the fight scenes, because I couldn't tell you what happens in the film. I remember Mr. Freeze had a gun, and he throws some stuff, and I remember Robin drove his motorbike on the roof. That's about it. But this still like boggles my mind. Sorry, I'm gonna end the stream because I'm waffling, and maybe I do a stream talking about old school movies because a lot of these need to be discussed. Like a lot of them need to be discussed. With that being said, this has been the Project Podcast. Wayne's World, party time, excellent. Where's the first one? I see Wayne's World 2. Where's Wayne's World 1? Aerosmith and Pearl Jam. Anyway, I have Chronicle on DVD. Okay, this is the last one. I remember when I watched this film. This film came out in. I'm talking really quick because my phone is on my phone. PC is on 5%. 2012 as well. This is like young Michael B. Jordan. He was the first guy to die in this film. And in the cinema, out loud, I went, "It's because he's black." Like really, really loud, and everybody laughed. That is like a core memory for me. That's one of my most like proud achievements. The entire movie theater laughed at my joke. It was great. This has been the Project Podcast, the podcast without introduction, and I will see you next time, where maybe we talk about some of these movies. Peace.